Today we're talking about inclusive education. Inclusivity in education is a matter that bothered lots of people for so many years, between the right-based approach and between the flexibility to cater for all students in one classroom. So if we'd like to define inclusive education in a nutshell, it means that all students, regardless of their strengths and weakness, go to the same school, neighborhood school, mainstream school, with their brothers, cousins, people from the neighborhood, and enjoy a meaningful, inclusive experience. People argue that unless the child or the pupil, the learner, whoever he is, feels the sense of belonging, feels that he is connected and belonging to the place, the child is not included. So we can have all the papers in the world and all the legislations in the world that actually shows that we should have inclusive education, but unless the child feel this inclusivity, that means the child is not included. How can we make the child feel the sense of belonging in a school? How can we change a mainstream school to become an inclusive school? A good, comprehensive, supportive, accepting school, responsive school that caters for all the students in the neighborhood. We need four things. I always say, imagine a car, and the car that has four wheels. You cannot go for a legless, wheelless car. You need those four wheels in order to make inclusion work well. First of all, I call it the 4 Ps: the policy, the place, the process, and the practice. Any one of them that is not going well, as if you're driving a car with one of your tires, is not working well. So when we look at the policy, countries have all the policies in the world to make sure that all the children are protected, and people with special needs, disability, called in some countries people of determination, people who differ, are welcomed in the school. So they have policies to support this. But unless the school makes sense of the policies are meaningless papers. So the policy is number one. All schools must take this policy and make sense of it. Have a blueprint, have something to explain to your teachers and to your staff. What do we do in order to make inclusivity works meaningfully in our school? That's number one. The second tire for that inclusivity car, or inclusive education car, is the place. You need to decide and define where would you put the child. Ideally, and when we define inclusion, it means that all children are welcomed in the regular classroom setting. However, in some cases, and for the best interest of the child may need to be pulled out for certain activities. If the child is easily distracted, he may need to have a quiet corner. If the child would not work well with a partner, maybe he need to work with somebody else. So this puzzle that we do in the school to make sure that children are allocated according to their best interest, putting the best interest of the child in front of our eyes as a school, is called placing the child. So the second part is a place. And it is very important to revise that what works this year may not work next year. When you have the child in a group of people this year, he may not get along as much with them. Maybe we need to communicate, and also the child voice is very important here. The child need to be consulted about the best place for him as well. It's not just basically we're taking a piece of a furniture and put it somewhere. We're basically talking about a human being here who has needs and interested to actually be with somebody and at a specific place. So we have a review meeting and we have all this, and we supported the child to be in the best place. The third tire, very important as well, is the process. Every school needs to have a very clear process, okay, about how we are going to make sense of the policy. So we need to have a flow chart when the child comes. Once we diagnose, does he have a diagnosis? If you have assessment, has he been assessed? Not yet. What do we do? What do we do with this child to make sure that we maximize his chances of having a meaningful experience? Remember, he's not included unless he has this sense of belonging. So schools makes every effort to simplify the policy, to have a clear process, to actually support the staff to work with this. The clearer the process is, the better the inclusivity experience is as well. So it's very important to have this. Some schools have good education policy, a process that is written somewhere. It is taken from the policy, and they say when the child comes, this is what we do, this is the support we do. And of course, we have a clear process about each individual child as well. Last but not least is the practice. I can have all the best policies in the world, and I can reflect it in a nice paper or a blueprint where my staff actually do believe genuinely in education. My management is supporting education. All the people from the bus caretaker, the bus driver, the person who is outside the school gate helping everybody to come in, the lollipop man, everybody would actually support the inclusivity. But I can have all this, but if I don't have clear practice inside the classroom, we have a problem in the skills offered. So we need to cater for this by equipping the teachers, the teacher assistants, the staff, everybody who will be involved in the education experience of the students need to be trained to do differentiated instruction, differentiated assessment, to support the students to learn better and to make sure that this is the well-being of everybody else. Inclusion is not really about this child who's been included. Inclusion is about all the spirit of the school, all the well-being of the school. So to cut everything short and in a nutshell, I need those 4 tires in order to make inclusion work. Happy, inclusive experience, everybody.